Hello. We are excited to be in summer and to be living abundantly. And we are excited to bring you the best of the Sister Covenant. If you have a favorite podcast from 2020, 21, or 22 that you want to see, just let us know. Enjoy our review during the summer. Get ready for what's going to come in the fall, and we will see you on the Sister Covenant. We're taking a hiatus, but we remain relevant, vigilant, masked, and vaccinated during the summer so we can enjoy our best lives with our family and friends. Enjoy your summer. Good morning, everyone. Good morning and happy Thanksgiving. I pray all are well. We are so blessed and so thankful for so many blessings, but I am most grateful and blessed to have you here with me today for our third episode of the Sister Covenant podcast. We have a jam-packed and empowering show for you today. This is the fifth Sunday, so we air on the first and the third Sundays. But when there is a fifth Sunday in any month, it is dedicated to women under 30, the youngins, as I affectionately call them. And we have some powerful women under 30 to share with you today. But first up, we have a powerful and I must say phenomenal woman with us who will bring some knowledge to us as it relates to how she has shaped the lives of many women and people of under 30. So first up, I would like to introduce to the Sister Covenant, Dr. Glenda Glover. Dr. Glover is the current sitting president of Tennessee State University, as well as the current international president of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Welcome, Dr. Glover. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me.
We are super excited to have you with us this morning. How was your Thanksgiving?
Oh, it was great. And it's capped off by this morning, putting me on the show with the students, the people under 30. So finally I can tell my age. I'm under 30.
Awesome. Me too, Dr. Glover. You and I both. Very good. Awesome. Well, I have so much that I want to speak with you about. And as we talked about off camera, this is not an interview, although I have all these interview questions that I prepared. It's a conversation. So when I thought about where we are at this time, we're in the middle of an unprecedented election, and we know what we've gone through over the last 8 months with the pandemic and protests. And we know a college president, you're on that front line. So tell us about that. What have you seen from a college president lens, as well as the president of a sorority with over 300,000 members? What does that look like in your estimation?
Actually, I missed part of the question. We went silent on me for a moment.
I'm sorry. We have lived through a lot over these last 8 months, from a pandemic that we're still in the middle of. And I know that has had an effect on college campuses all across this country.
Yes.
As in particular, I would assume HBCUs. So tell us about that from your lens.
Well, on the HBCU campuses as well as other non-HBCU campuses, it's been a struggle with the pandemic. Um, Students had one weekend to just leave the campus because all the campuses were closing around the country. Then we had to switch to online. Fortunately, when we start off each semester, each class has a shell, so we just had to drop the course into the shell. So it wasn't as bad as on some campuses, but it's still everybody to reacclimate to this new model of student learning. And everybody didn't have devices, so the alumni and others came to our rescue, and just corporations. So we managed to get devices for students. And then the CARES Act funding came in. We really take our hats off to the Congressional Black Caucus for how they pushed that through, fought for the legislation to get emergency funding for HBCUs. Congresswoman Alma Adams, Congresswoman Marsha Fudge, Senator Kamala Harris. I mean, they really pushed the money through so that we can have funding to assist students who had no connectivity, who had no way of learning. So that's how we managed to keep everything going. And the students were just perfect. They adjusted to it. You know, there was some instances we wish we didn't have, but the students just adjusted. We went through the semester, the end of Thanksgiving, without any incidents. No, well, there may be one or two smaller ones, but no major incidents. And we're really thankful and appreciative for that.
Dr. Glover, you mentioned that all colleges, I have two college-age sons, one attending Hampton University and one attending Florida State University here in Florida. Both challenged on various levels, but obviously with my oldest son who attends Hampton, they made the decision very early on to have remote learning. So even though he's physically in Hampton, Virginia, he is not on campus at all. So talk to us a little bit about that. We know that homecoming is a real big thing, is a thing. So that's a part of the whole college experience. And I would submit the HBCU experience. How are you navigating all of that?
Well, homecoming is an issue. That there's no homecoming like an HBCU homecoming. And I'm gonna bring it down a little close, like a Tennessee State homecoming. I mean, it's just so phenomenal. People from all around the country come back to campus. It's just fun. But this year we just couldn't do it. We did a virtual homecoming. And, although we had a good time, we were watching things, it's not the same. But the students accepted it. They understood. They understand where we are at this point in time. We're in a pandemic, so in emergent situations, you adjust and put in emergency procedures, and they accept them. Of course, they got a little restless and want to go places, didn't like the curfew and things, but still, it was fine. They managed. We got through it, and they're coming back the end of January. But there are things that we wish we could have done this semester, which would have elections. The campus-wide student election had to be done virtually, and that was the first for us. Miss Tennessee State, Mr. Tennessee State, the SGA president, but they all did a great job, and we got through without a hitch. But it's just a change into the new world in which we live, and the students did an outstanding job. Not just Tennessee State students, but students around the country. I'm hearing great things when the presidents talk, how the students adjusted. And then the faculty had to adjust. So it was a big adjustment period. I had to adjust. And so it was a big adjustment period. And the election coming up, that just came, as the election was nearing, the students really got involved and got the vote efforts and voter mobilization and voter education. Some type of voter engagement effort was done on every HBCU campus, and it was just amazing because we knew how important this election was. And so the students from their homes, from their remote locations, just stepped up to the plate and got it done. So we commend them for that, because the electorate is about at least 1/3. Some I've heard as high as 40%, but I think about 33 to 38 or so percent of the electorate people between the ages of 18 and 29.
That's right. And as you know, we have a powerhouse collegiate panel later in the podcast, but I want to take it back to another initiative. And you may have missed this part, but we know a little secret is out that you also serve as international president of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And you all have done a phenomenal job in raising dollars for HBCUs around the country. Can you tell us about that effort?
Well, yes, as a college president, I know firsthand the struggles, the financial struggles that universities have, HBCUs have. So when I became the president, international president and CEO of Alpha Kappa Alpha, I made sure one of my program targets that the sorority bought into was assisting HBCUs. And that assistance came with resources, resources for different things. We have a cancer unit, a mobile unit goes around the country, just doing mammograms for people who cannot afford to do them for women. Then we have just other initiatives, but this HBCU initiative is so personal to me as HBCU president because I see it, I live it every day. So we raise $1 million in one day, once a year. We've done it for 3 years in a row, and we give that out to the various colleges. So 100 schools, 100 HBCUs will receive an endowment check of $50,000 to $100,000. So that is phenomenal. It wasn't done. It's never been done before, to our knowledge. And so that's our way of helping HBCUs. I said one more thing. When I first started putting the team together to say I want to do this for HBCUs, they said, well, let's do an awareness campaign. So we said, awareness? We already aware of HBCUs. We don't need we're aware they need money. So let's raise money for HBCUs, and then let's make sure we market HBCUs to ensure that we can help boost enrollment. We'll have students understand the value proposition of attending an HBCU. Your father, your mother, your grandparents, your cousins, your sisters. So someone has a connection to HBCU in your family, whether you went to a homecoming or you had fun, you played big whiz at HBCU. I mean, you just have fun at HBCU. So that's what we're trying to market and push HBCUs across the country.
So we have our dear sister, Kamala Harris, and may I say, Vice President-elect Kamala Harris.
Yes.
So people who never knew about HBCUs and the Divine Nine, they're having an awareness. Tell us how you feel, just personally, that may benefit HBCUs moving forward. Specifically financially, do you feel there will be any financial gain from this notoriety, or is this just a moment in time?
Oh no, it's more than a moment in time. We look at what has happened. A young lady from a prominent HBCU has been elected as Vice President of the United States. That is historical in and of itself. But it goes beyond that. It's what it means for HBCUs. What does it mean? Number one, it shows the value of HBCUs, the value of an education, the training you receive, the leadership training you receive at HBCUs. And it puts to bed that question about, are HBCUs relevant? In fact, it has rendered that question irrelevant. The relevancy of that question is not irrelevant. And then
That's
it's
right.
the power of the Divine Nine. Alpha Kappa Alpha did not elect her. Alpha Kappa Alpha participated, and we got together with Divine Nine, and the whole Divine Nine had strategic got the vote initiatives. There was so much strategy among the council of presidents of Divine Nine, just to make sure we all work together to make this happen. And she was clear in her speech that night when she said, I want to thank the Divine Nine, because we're no longer viewed as this organization that likes to step and have fun. I remember Alpha Kappa Alpha, you remember Delta Sigma Theta. So we worked hard as a team together to make sure we got that vote out. We can't endorse a candidate because we're nonprofit, but we can certainly ask students and others to exercise your right to vote and your civic duty to get others out to vote. And that's what we did. And that's what made the difference in this election.
Dr. Glover, segued right into where I wanted to go. Collaboration. And that's what all of this is about, right?
Yeah.
It is about us coming together, common goal, laser focus to make things happen. So we're here now. Where do we take this? Where is our trajectory going as it relates to HBCUs, Black women at the top of their game, and bringing it back to those women under 30 that you influence every day? Where do you see this going for them now that we're here?
Well, the focus now has to be on sustainability, on growth and development of HBCUs to make it better for the students who are coming. So they will be more attractive to HBCUs, the research, the infrastructure, endowments. What HBCUs need, I think, more than anything else, they need endowments. Endowments represent sustainability because with endowments, you provide scholarships for students to continue their education at HBCU or somewhere, but we say HBCUs. So we have to have a clear vision, a clear mission of each initiative that we undertake, because right now it's no longer, there's no remediation on the HBCU campus, most of them now, especially state schools. You have to really produce. It's a productivity model. It's been adopted by almost all the state schools. So we look around the changing demographics, the technology, the competitive forces that affect academic programs. That's where the need is now. So we have met with the Biden team. We have met with the Harris team during the campaign more than once. And they committed to certain things for HBCUs. And so we know what those, the commitment is there. And so we want to now meet with them. Once we get through, January 20th has to, in fact, happen. Once that is over, then we're going to sit down again and go through some of the needs of HBCUs. And we're hopeful. In fact, we're waiting with anticipation. We're waiting to see what's really going to happen to HBCUs.
Very good. Dr. Glover, we could go on and on and on and talk, and certainly have an open invitation to come back to the Sister Covenant. But what I want to ask you is, how are you navigating personally all of this, from all the protesting and the pandemic, as well as I know you've been on the front line with leading charges and the collaborative effort to get the vote out for our future and for the future of students on your campus and all over. How are you personally filling your cup? How are you personally navigating this?
Well, the navigation, the two organizations, one, Alpha Kappa Alpha really takes care of itself. We have an amazing corporate office. I am the face, and I appreciate that. I am the face of the organization. But the work is done in the back office. The work is done in Chicago, and there's work through the chapters, through the regions. We have a committed structure set up. So the hands-on work is not done by me. I get all the credit for it, but it's done by the corporate office and the staff and the various chapters who just work all the time. They're volunteers. It's a volunteer organization. But you said, what fills my cup? Filling my cup is a way of replenishing and recharging. And I draw strength through prayer and meditation. It's Sunday morning. I was glad you started with prayer. And when the haters and the enemies come against me, I have to know that they're going to stumble and fall, because we're working, we're working the good work. We're fighting the good fight. And so my cup needs filling. I go to my friends, my sisters, my sorority sisters, the links, other organizations that I embrace. And everybody's cup needs filling at times, because we need that mental strength. We need that physical strength. We need that spiritual strength, because you can't pour from an empty cup. So the cup has to be filled. So I get on the treadmill and I think and sing out loud and I laugh, because you have to stay balanced. And that's why I like this Sister Covenant so much, because it's a platform to empower women of color. We empower each other. Nobody's trying to say who wants the credit. It's just when one is down, we're there to lift them. And when somebody needs encouragement and strength, we're there for them. That's what this cup is all about. We're here as one united front. That's why I said the Divine Nine and the other organizations, the Sisters United for Reform. There are so many organizations involved and women supporting each other. And that's what this is all about. I'm not sure if it's Black Girl Magic or not, but because we work hard, I don't know anything magical about it, but it's the unity and it's the strength that we draw from each other.
Well, you know what? I'm going to submit that it is Black Girl Magic because we make it look magical.
Okay.
We make it look effortless. And you certainly do that. And you mentioned Sisters United for Reform. That is a phenomenal effort. I know that was your brainchild. And we thank you. And we thank all the other phenomenal, your sisters. We had those ladies, 4 of those ladies on the first podcast. And that is what it's all about. So certainly you and other ladies like those ladies are mentors to me. And it was so important to the Sister Covenant that you come today and you just talk to us. And can you promise me that you'll come back and then I won't have to talk to you?
I will come back. Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Glover. You have a good rest of your Sunday and a good rest of the holiday. Thank you so much.
Good. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. That was awesome. That was just simply awesome. She is a phenomenal woman. So next, we have a woman under 30, Natalie Nicole. Natalie is an entrepreneur. She's a consultant and a brand specialist, a former 7th grade teacher, a graduate of the Florida State University, and last but not least, my goddaughter. Hi, Natalie. Oh, I think you're on mute, Natalie.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to be a part of this entire production. It's just so amazing what you're doing on here.
Well, you are amazing, my dear. So I don't want to spend any time loving on you. We can do that piece later. Tell us, Natalie, as I said in your intro, you were a 7th grade teacher up until just 3 years ago. Tell us about your journey and how you got from being a teacher of 7th graders to where you are now. We know your bio is on the Sister Covenant website, and I encourage you all to go read all about all of the fantastic and phenomenal things Natalie is doing. But tell us about your journey.
Yeah, so it's actually been not even 2.5 years yet. So it's still fairly new. It was actually at the end of my first year teaching, I realized I wanted to do something a little bit more. Math is pretty much matter of fact, and I wanted to really exercise my creative side that I didn't even know I had until I decided that I wanted to try something out. And so I just started an online boutique, July 2018. I just decided to start that boutique. And at the time, I also had a YouTube channel where I was just sharing about my faith. I was sharing about my journey, like learning Christ and things like that. And so naturally, when I started my online boutique, I decided to also share that journey as well. And so it was just like my personal little blog of me just sharing like behind the scenes of what I was doing. But I guess as I was sharing, people just decided to watch and tune in, and it kind of turned into me teaching them how to also start their own business. And so as I was running my business, I was also simultaneously teaching them how to also start their business. And so that really led me into having my online boutique, and at the same time being a coach and having a platform where people can come to me to learn how to start their own entrepreneur journey as well.
So one of your mantras is faith over fear. I saw your cup a little bit ago, fearless. Tell us about that. What is that about?
Yeah, so my original boutique was called True Co-Styles, and it was just something that I started randomly, but I wanted to have a way to connect me with my YouTube audience of other entrepreneurs. And something that was for me, that was true for me, was when I first started my business, I had a lot of fear, a fear of like, will this go well? Will I get support? Is this actually going to turn out well? And as I was talking to my YouTube audience, they had the same fear. And I wanted to remind entrepreneurs to really, and just anybody in general, because even me being a teacher, me being a person, I moved to Houston by myself, like not with my family. And that took a lot of faith as well. And I realized like I'm going places, but in order to get there, I have to continually live a life of faith over fear. And just having that logo just reminds me daily to do that.
Okay. So you just touched on family, and I know how important family is to you. You're a twin, actually. So how did that work out where you, like you said, made that? And we're talking to women under 30. So tell us about that faith piece and that walk, leaving your comfort, your twin and family, and moving across country and then starting this new endeavor.
Yeah, it actually started when I was in college at Florida State. It was my senior year, and I realized like I have absolutely no idea what the next chapter is. I really can't see past graduation. Like a lot of college students have that same thoughts and those same fears as well. And so because of that, it really had me turn to God. And, I grew up in the church and I knew who God was. But before then, I did not have a personal relationship with him. But I was desperate to figure out what my purpose was, what my next thing was. And so as I sought out God and as I, really found who he is, and I really felt like he told me to, teach and to move to Houston, at that point, literally from that point, everything else has been like, I don't question it. If I really feel God is saying something, I'm going to do it and I'm going to have faith. That's really why the motto came about. And so, moving to Houston, it could have been a fearful thing, but I was so excited about that God was actually talking to me, that I actually had a next step. And so I think when you decide to really live for Christ and do what God says, there's no room for fear. And of course, fear happens, but it's just a constant looking ahead and not thinking about the what ifs. And so moving to Houston and to move by myself without my family, it's just been a constant looking ahead battle where I'm just like, you know what, I'll worry about my fear later on. Right now I have things to accomplish. And so that's really how I approach it.
So 2 questions. Soul Food for the Entrepreneur, was that for you or was that for us? Who was?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So this is my devotional. It's a 30-day devotional for entrepreneurs, helping them build their faith, wealth, and success. And so the book itself is my journey from Houston to starting my business. And so I actually put it on paper for my subscribers, for them to be able to do the same thing, for them to learn how to really take what I just told you guys about having faith and looking ahead. It's easier for me to write it all down in a 30-day devotional, and kind of it's really like the messages God gave to me over the past 2 years to start my business. I put it on paper and I'm sharing it with everybody else. And so it is my journey. And I created the book so that other people can also embark in that same journey and start their businesses as well. Are you there? I can keep talking. Okay, I think her camera's loading.
Sorry about that. I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Apologize, Natalie. Yes, continue.
Yeah, and so that's just basically how the book came about, and the purpose of me writing it. And honestly, so that's actually a great question of, is it for them or is it for me? Because I've actually read it now 4 times, and it's like, well, you wrote the book, but because it was so much partner with God, it contains actually scripture in it. It's the living word. And so honestly, whenever I feel like I need to pick me up to get back into my business, to get just creative, I go back into it and redo the devotional for 30 days. So it's really for me and for everyone else.
So that brings me to my next question. I told you I had 2. Give us, and I know they need to get the book. We all do. We need to get the book. But give us a guide, just a short synopsis for that woman under 30, for that woman over 30. I'm a little bit over 30, right?
Yeah.
What do we do if we have a dream or something God has put in our spirit to do? what are the steps? What are the initial steps to move forward with that? Whether it be one of these collegiate panel members about to come up on campus or beyond. You mentioned it starting for you as a college student at Florida State. What do you think the first steps are for you and for us?
Yeah, I think, and even for me, because even I have dreams that come up as well, I think the first step is understanding that your dreams and your desires are valid. A lot of times we have these dreams and desires, but we question if we should even consider them, if they're bogus, or if it's really God. And I want you to understand that your dreams and desires are valid. And even with that, a lot of times, every time I get a desire, I take it to God. One of my favorite scriptures is Philippians 4 verses 6-7. And it says to be anxious about nothing, but in everything, make your request be made known to God, and the peace of God, which transcends, will basically give us peace. Sorry, I'm forgetting some of the scripture. But so essentially with that scripture, it's like what I go by. And so if I have a desire, I take it to God and I pray, like, is this you? Is this my flesh? Like, what is this really about? And the moment I have peace, I will then go and take that full on and continue forward. So number one is to believe that your desires are valid. Take it to God. And once you have peace, peace is your answer to go forward. And then after that, you do the work, you do the research. When I started my boutique, I started it in just 3 weeks, but that's because I spent those entire 3 weeks, about 300 hours I spent on my couch doing the research. And so there just has to be no excuse with, if you want to get something done, you have to do the work to get it done, because we know that God says that faith and work is what works together to get things accomplished. And so, yes, we believe that God is going to help us, but we have to also make sure we're going to do what it takes for us to actually get it started as well. So believing your desires are valid, do the research, and then get to work. And that's really my main steps for you.
Natalie, those of us who know you, is that you actually live that mantra. You're pretty fearless. You know your worth, you know your value. You're not apologetic for that, or you don't compromise or dummy yourself down. In our last minute or two, tell us about that, because I think there's someone out there, a woman under 30 or a person, who needs to hear that type of commitment to yourself and determination.
Yeah, I don't waver on anything, especially the more that I am in my business, I understand my worth, but it all goes back to God. And so I'm a coach and I do teach entrepreneurship and I do give concrete marketing facts, but my base is faith and my base is God. I believe that God has me there for that reason. And so because I am living here and really just understanding that God is the reason why I am here, there is absolutely nothing that can get me off of the track that He has put me on. I believe that anything that comes against that, I think is the enemy, and I don't play with the enemy. And so I believe that I have a mindset that I'm here for a reason, and God is going to bless me as I continue to be obedient. And so any wavering of anything is going to take me out of His will and out of my track for blessings. And I just want to continually be blessed. God has blessed me tremendously thus far in my business and in my personal life. And so I know that as I continue to do what He says, I'm going to continue to get blessed as well. And so that's really just it.
So Natalie isn't going to brag on her, but as her godmom, I can. She does phenomenally well financially, but personally, from a spiritual perspective, as well as a beautiful person inside and out perspective, you exude that. So I think you've already told us who fills your cup, and that's Christ. And I think as long as we all take that away, we will reap the benefits of that. Natalie?
Amen. Yes, I would agree.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking the little bit of time away from your family, because I know you're with them today before you head back to Texas. So thank you so much for being with us. I know Black Friday was a real thing in your world. So where can they go? And you're going to be our Sister of the Month for December. So tell our audience real quick how they can get those cute, fearless outfits that they can wear.
Yes. So my clothing store, Fearless Collection, it's actually fearlesscollection.com. And I create unique pieces for bold women of faith who want to stand out So I love my sisters in Christ who provide, the modest clothing, and my outfits are modest, but I like to provide like some spice and some boldness and some color. So if that's you, if you like to stand out, my website is fearlesscollection.com. But like I mentioned earlier, I also coach entrepreneurs to help them get started on their journey as well. And I coach people of all ages, from young to older or to seasoned, as we like to say. And so if you're interested in learning about that, I have a YouTube channel, and it's just Natalie Nicole. My name is spelled Nataleh. So it is a little different, thanks to my parents. So Natalie Nicole, you can find me on YouTube, and I share everything about my journey of faith, of entrepreneurship. I was on there last night. I'm gonna be on there tonight. So if you want to just see me kind of chat and teach, you can find me on YouTube as well.
All right, Natalie. Thank you. Love you.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye. Bye. She is a phenomenal woman. Is doing phenomenal things as a young woman. So next up, we have a panel of young women. So before I bring that panel up, I want to introduce another special young woman to me, Sage Simone Haynes. Sage,
good morning. Can you hear me?
Is a sophomore attending Howard University in Washington, D.C. Hi, Sage.
Hi, Aunt Pat. Good morning.
How are you? You see, it's a family thing. It's Thanksgiving, and we are embracing and celebrating our family. Sage, thank you so much for being with me this morning. And once again, Sage is doing some phenomenal things on the campus of Howard, but also I'm proud to brag a bit that she is currently serving as an intern in Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms' administration. So when I thought about bringing on these collegiate leaders, I had to have a co-host to talk with these young ladies. So let's get to it. We are going to bring up our panel, Sage, and we're excited. We're super excited to welcome these ladies to the Sister Covenant. We have, and I don't know who's first up. So Carrington, Kimberly Michael from Hampton University, and they're coming in fast. So let me get everybody in the room, and then we'll go around and introduce everyone. All right, ladies, welcome. Good morning. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello. And maybe if we get any feedback, we'll have to mute, because I know there are a few of us on the phone. Good morning. Thank you all so very much for coming and being a part of this phenomenal morning. We are excited. So let us just start by introductions. So if we could just go around, and I don't know, can you guys see who's on the screen? Okay, so we'll start with Carrington. Carrington, introduce yourself and give us your, I'm sure, your FAMU greeting.
Good morning, everyone. Greetings and humble salutations. My name is Carrington Wiggum. I'm currently a junior broadcast journalism and theater scholar from Dallas, Texas. And I attend the Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, where I currently serve as the SGA Vice President.
Okay, I believe I'm next. So hello, everyone. My name is Kimberly Michael Thompson. I am a junior at Hampton University, where I major in strategic communications from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and I have the distinct pleasure of serving as the 75th SGA Vice President of my home by the sea.
Thank you, Kimberly. I have to take personal privilege. You get to keep one young man, Austin Sams, in check. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Rachel?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rachel Howell. I am a senior political science major and philosophy minor from Alpharetta, Georgia. And I attend Howard University, where I serve as the 60th president of the Howard University Student Association.
Welcome, welcome, Rachel. Alana?
Good morning, everyone. It's an honor and privilege to be here today. I am Alana Gaskin, a senior political science major at the Prairie View A&M University, where I currently serve as a student body president.
Thank you, Alana.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Fauna Haile Selassie. I am a graduating senior at Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia, where I major in international studies with a minor in Spanish and currently serve as the SGA president.
Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. I am Tiara Thomas, a junior political science major from Olive Branch, Mississippi, and I attend the Tennessee State University, where I serve as the student trustee on our university board of trustees.
Thank you, Tiara. And we just had your campus president, so I know that was exciting for you. So, ladies, again, you all are a powerhouse in your own right, and so Sage and I are excited to have you with us this morning. So we're going to get started. We are living in times like I've never seen, and I'm sure you've never seen, from the pandemic that is still currently affecting your campuses, and I want you to speak to that, to this summer's protest, as well as an unprecedented election. How are you leading on your campus through all of this, all of these challenges and opportunities, as I like to call it? And how are you personally navigating? I know Fauna said, I am a graduating senior. What does that look like for 2020 in the middle of all of this? So anybody take the question.
I guess I can start. As I said, I'm a graduating senior, as many of us are on the panel. And as a senior, you're already on the cusp of a major seasonal transition in your life. And so navigating the anxiety and uncertainty that can accompany that season became 10 times as harder amidst a global pandemic. So personally, from a personal perspective, I really focused on caring for both my mental and physical health by leaning in a little closer to family as a support system and establishing digital boundaries, which looks like going outside, stepping away from my workspace, and knowing when to turn off my phone and not to check emails. But from a leadership perspective, we've really prioritized ways to engage our student body and maximize student feedback amidst the virtual setting. And so I tasked our board with looking beyond Zoom because, in all honesty, students are zoomed out, as are many professionals. And so they really lived up to the challenge. And one of our biggest accomplishments was implementing the college's first student advocacy board, which is just a virtual feedback system that's open 24/7.
And I would like to add to that as well. I think this pandemic and in the midst of like all of the things circling racism, it is very overwhelming for everyone. So I think that mental health is a huge aspect of our overall health during this time. So I definitely, for me personally, I use this time as like an evolution of myself, you know, because when everything shuts down and you can't go visit friends and family because you're afraid of, you know, the virus and things like that, you are stuck with you. And sometimes that's not as pretty, and you have to challenge yourself to look within yourself to say, okay, what can I fix? And I have dedicated like this past 8 months to just building me. I've created a business. I've stepped into new roles on campus. I've really tapped into who I want to be physically and emotionally. Well, not really physically because we're all stuck at home, but definitely financially and emotionally. As a leader, I think that it was important for me to show my campus that life still goes on in the midst of everything that's going on. So we've implemented new programs. We've looked at how, with the board, especially like Fauna said, we challenged the board to say, okay, what can we do to make this educational space, even though it's virtual, as comfortable as possible? Because it's uncomfortable when I'm looking at a computer screen and all the screens are black. I only see my teacher and I'm only with myself. And you're so disconnected from your professors. So we're saying, hey, I'm asking the Academic Affairs Committee to challenge our professors to be more intentional about how they interact with us. Talk to us more. If it's an asynchronous class, hey, let's get on Zoom at least once a week. I need to see you. I need to be around you. And we're just making sure that our campuses know that we're here and it's a community. And just because I can't see you doesn't mean that I'm not here for you.
Yeah, I just wanted to tap in. Yeah, I'll go ahead. I just wanted to tap in and say, I definitely, everything that was said completely resonates with me. I think that on a personal level, this has been a challenging time for mental and emotional well-being for everyone. I think that while we have so many racial issues going on in the election, this has also been like a really big time of loss for so many people. And that's something that students all across the country have been facing, myself included. And so I really had to give myself an opportunity to grieve and then also be empathetic enough to understand that other students are dealing with that in this time as well. And so something that we really challenged the administration to do is to, you know, be empathetic and understand that students are going through so much right now. Like, the emotional turmoil that people are enduring during this time is unprecedented. And so Hampton University decided not to return at all for the fall semester or the spring. So we had a 15-week straight semester with no breaks. And that was really hard for me and a lot of students. So something we implemented was wellness days that we'll be having next semester. So we'll receive one break a month dedicated to no work or no classes, where students have an opportunity to just rest. Rest is so needed. As you guys said, Zoom fatigue is so real. So that's a project that we're really excited to get implemented, and also just some other things around wellness and health for students.
Well, I know Sage wants to join this conversation. So Sage, what do you have for us?
Yes, thank you. Hi again, everybody. It's really nice to meet you all virtually. Sad it cannot be in person. But as you all know, as everyone should know, we are on track to have a Black woman vice president in the White House. So as Black women in leadership, what impact does Kamala Harris becoming the vice president of the United States have on your leadership journey, specifically with the nuance of being Black women?
I'll jump in here. So, I'm sorry, Rachel, were you speaking?
No, you
okay. I was going to say, well, one, it just capitalizes on the fact that God is so good, right? We took this task on about a couple of months ago, but I just only want to say it was a task. It was a duty. It was a mission. We literally had an agenda to a push, and we made it. We accomplished it. And two, it literally capitalizes on the fact that I can be whatever I want to be. I am 20 years old, and I saw an African-American woman in the White House. Like, I'm seeing this. And it's just, sometimes it's hard to fathom the fact that this is real life, but I can be anything I want to be. And thanks to her and to America and to the team and to African-American women in the community who pushed this agenda, we did it. And it's history. And I'm just so proud to be a part of this, to witness it, and to say that I helped.
So yeah, I would definitely love to hop into this conversation. So when I was in high school, I went to a predominantly white high school. I grew up in Alpharetta, Georgia. And so I remember when I was, researching different schools, how it like stood out to me because of, at the time, Senator Kamala Harris. Knowing that she was able to go to an institution that, accepted her and that molded her and cultivated her into the leader that she is today. That was the reason why I decided to attend Howard University. So just seeing now Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, I'm just so inspired because, as Black women, as Black ladies, like we're always told, that we have to wait our turn, right? We have to do things a certain way. But I'm just so glad that, she didn't allow negative opinions of the media and of people who don't have her best interest get to her, because as soon as you tap into your purpose and you listen to God, that's how you're able to be an inspiration to other people. So of course, I'm honored and I'm just very excited to see what comes, because now again, like she's setting the standard and laying the foundation for what's going to happen for many generations.
And I would like to jump in as well with this question. I'm sorry, Alana, would you like to go ahead? Okay.
You're fine.
I continue to say, just in conversations around Senator Kamala Harris, is that she is doing for Black women what Barack Obama was able to do for Black boys and Black men all around our country and probably the world as well, because America is bigger than America. A lot of people around the world looking at us and say they've never had a Black man in office, and now they're going to say, now there's a Black woman in the White House. And as a political science major, I think, okay, well, I can do this, I can do that. And now Kamala Harris completely opened a completely new door for me and other women in my field, as well as if we do this the right way with Kamala Harris, we can create a pipeline to put more Black women in the White House and even bigger positions as she has.
I will definitely like to agree with TM, and everybody who said something, that this sets the tone to see the first woman in the office as a vice president, but not only that, not only woman, but the HBCU grad and a Black woman in the office as the vice president-elect is phenomenal. It sets the tone. It has a great impact on my leadership. As I aspire to enter politics, it's like, wow, okay, so my resilience and my strength and my creativity and my service is needed it's needed in America, right? It's needed to help grow and build our community, the Black community. So I'm excited to see the first woman and the first Black woman in this position.
Sage, I know you had a follow-up question. Did somebody else want to jump in there?
Oh, I just wanted to say, going off of what Tiara said about her being the first Black woman, I think it is so important to recognize that Kamala Harris is not just the first Black woman, but like Alana said, she is the first woman and first Black person to hold this role of vice president. And I think that is so instrumental because oftentimes as Black women, we've been pushed to the side in so many movements, whether it be feminist movement, whether it be civil rights movements, and we've been told, to wait our turn, which typically comes after white women and Black men. And to have a Black woman break such a significant glass ceiling is an incredible honor to be able to watch. I remember just sitting in my room and realizing she just broke a glass ceiling for all women. And I think it just illustrates that Black women, we don't have to wait for someone to give us permission to go into spaces and hold them for the first time. We can do that on behalf of not just Black women, but women and Black people as a whole.
I love it. I love it. Sage, you had a follow-up to that.
Yes, I do have a follow-up question, just continuing the theme of the capability and power of Black women. So statistics show that approximately 91% of Black women voted for President-elect Joe Biden. So when we look at all of the powerful, resilient Black women that have played such a vital role in this election, like Stacey Abrams, Val Demings, Keisha Lance Bottoms, and of course, Kamala Harris, do you all believe that Black women saved the Democratic Party? and this election? And continuing off of that, in essence, do you feel as though Black women saved the future of our country?
I would like to say first is to commend and give Stacey Abrams her well overdue flowers. She did phenomenal. She has been doing phenomenal since she stepped foot in the political realm, and I thank her. Yes, I do believe that Black women have saved the Democratic Party in the future. That might be biased because I am a Black woman, but as well, that's what I feel, and to say that they have continuously saved every election locally and nationally. So this was not the first election that Black women, they saved it this time. It's the first election that I would say that got the recognition from the work that we as Black women are doing for this country. So yes, they have continuously saved local and national elections and the future for everyone.
Yes, and Sage, I want to say, in essence, I do. Our demographic has always been a reckoning force when it comes to elections. Our efforts in the communities, it starts at home, mothers talking to their families, making sure that that agenda is established in their homes, but then going out into the communities, working with the churches and things like that. And what was so beautiful about this election is that a lot of people had our backs. It's one thing for Black women to be the pushing agent and the changing agents, but people had our backs. Our Black men had our back, and they saw what we could accomplish. We did it in 2008, but we said, oh no, we're going to take the charge. 2008, 2020, it is the same initiative. We took the charge, and we were a force to be reckoned with, and that is scary. And I'm so excited for our future.
And I would just like to add as well to Carrington's point that Black women have always been a force to reckon with. I like to speak in just a historical context that Black women essentially built this country from our hands and our backs and our wombs as well. But in this context, we supported, it wasn't about the politics, I don't feel like at this point. I feel like when it came to Kamala Harris, we supported a fellow Black woman, a fellow Black American, and Black women have had a huge part in that. Not to discredit anyone's vote, but Black men have become the new swing voters. Black men could go either way, and Black women have continued to be consistent with our votes. And especially seeing a Black woman, I think, as I mentioned earlier, was such a huge thing for us that we felt like it was our duty, I think, as Carrington said earlier, to exercise that right and to make sure that we push our families and our friends. And at least I know, like on my campuses and the other ladies on this call, they pushed their campuses to make sure that we made this happen.
Sage, did you have one last little bit or second?
Yes, I have one last portion to this question. Thank you guys so much for all of these very insightful and thought-provoking answers. So, as we all know, Black women have been fighting Black people, America since the beginning. We've always been putting in the work. Ever since the voters' rights, the women's suffrage movement of over 100 years ago. So now that we have a Black woman in the White House, how do we continue to break the glass ceiling? So now that we have a seat at the table, how do we ensure that we gain a seat at the head of the table?
I think continuing to break those glass ceilings relies on pushing boundaries to foster a genuine appreciation for our culture and our voice. Right now, it is an amazing feat that a Black woman is in the White House, but our work is far from being over. There's still a number of people who are uncomfortable with us. They're uncomfortable with our voice and our facial expressions and our emotion and passion behind our voice and our mobilization efforts. And so to counter that, we're going to have to continue pushing boundaries to make them comfortable and pull up a seat at tables that we're not invited to.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But one way that this can happen is just making sure that there are more Black women, Black women who attended HBCUs that are within like the administration. I know the transition team right now is, working on filling the highest positions as of now. Only one Black woman has been appointed, right? And that's unacceptable. We have to make sure that, since we say the election, that needs to be reflected within just the structure of government, because at the end of the day, our perspective is like necessary and we understand our issues, like from, HBCU funding to reproductive health rights. No one has us like Black women, so that needs to be reflected.
And like my fellow sisters said, that the fight's not over. This is a moment that we, yes, celebrate, but also acknowledge that there's still work that needs to be done. One way to keep our seat at the table is one, super glue it down. Don't pick it up, super glue it down. Don't move it. Don't change seats with anybody. The fight for the head of the table has been so long, and it's phenomenal to see a Black woman in this position, and how we continue to definitely how we continue to have this is one, prevailing against the adversities, utilizing our skills and power, and also trailblazing through the norm. That we have to just be the people that we are, right? We have to just continue to be phenomenal, trailblazing, and strong and powerful. So yes.
And I would just like to add, in my opinion, Dr. Glover said something earlier about sustainability. And, our racial counterparts have their own systemic ladder to positions, which is why we've never seen but one Black president. And this is our first Black woman vice president. And sustainability comes from making sure that we start playing politics as Black women. I think we tend to shy away from that. And, they have their own filtering system of building people up and grooming people to be in certain positions. And I charge Vice President-elect Kamala Harris to start her own filtering system for Black women to not only have that position, but keep that position, and in other positions as well, in Congress and in the Senate, and as well as the White House. We have to continue to, as Black women, to have our own filtering system. I don't think anyone on this call has gotten their position without someone else helping them get there. I know, at least for me, I have an amazing mentor. Her name is Braxton Simpson, who has served in this position twice, who has groomed me and helped me get where I am, and has continued to lead me to where I need to be. And I think that we need that on a higher level to get Black women where we deserve to be.
Yeah, I just wanted to second everything Tiara said about creating ladders and not gatekeeping as Black women. I think so often we're taught that there's only enough space at the table for one of us, right? Like, I am here, I've held this, I am not been tokenized. And something that I've learned just going to an HBCU and having the opportunity to have so many Black women mentors is that there's plenty of space at the table for all of us. And I think it is so important that while we are all moving forward and breaking glass ceilings and opening doors ourselves, but we are leaving all of those spaces behind for someone to come and follow suit and do it better and learn from our lessons. And so I think that just goes along with what all of the women on this panel were saying. But ultimately, I do charge Vice President-elect Kamala Harris as well. I look forward to seeing the programming that she has for Black women. I look forward to seeing how she advocates for us in her new space, because we certainly need it if we are going to reach that next step.
Ladies, and I want to jump in here and say what you guys represent. Just hearing your comments and your thought process, very well thought out. And the fact that you are empowering yourselves and one another. It's what Dr. Glover spoke about. It's that collaborative effort. And a lot of times as Black women, sometimes we think, we're here and we can only be the only ones here right now. So there is no more room because I must shine. But no, our true power, and I think this election showed that our true power was collaboration. It wasn't any one person, just one organization. It was all of our efforts together. And I think now that we're here, that's our true power. So it leads me to my last two questions. What is your Black girl magic? What is your superpower? If everybody wants to answer that. Sage, I'll start with you. What's your superpower?
Oh, on the spot. My superpower, let me think so I can give you a good answer. I think my answer might be similar to a lot of the young ladies we have here, but I believe my superpower is my refusal to ever accept any limit that is put on me. Like Rachel said, I also went to, like Rachel experienced, I also went to a predominantly white high school, and Lord knows they're trying to put a lot of limits on me and my peers. So I think from a young age, just my ability to recognize that the sky is the limit, that I can break those glass ceilings, even if 100 people are telling me that I can't do something because they think it's wrong. If I have a different opinion, even if it's way back in the back of my head, my ability, to explore that opinion and at the end of the day, fight for what I believe in.
Carrington, what's your superpower?
If I had to break it down, I would say it's the confidence that was instilled in me from those who came before me, those who I'm doing it for now, who will be coming after me. It's the confidence that will get me through the door, keep me through the door, and allow me to branch off and to network and just to be someone that I didn't even fathom I could be, a servant, someone who's just confidently bold and courageous, just making sure that I know that there is no limit I can set on myself. So if I establish that within myself, I know that I could be confident and fearless whatever I do. So I'm going to say that's my superpower.
Yeah, I'm going to say my superpower is my authenticity. I believe as Black women, so often we are told to, calm ourselves down, appear less volatile, appear less Black. And as so many of the girls on the panel have already said, they went to predominantly white schools. I did as well. And I'll just give you an example. This summer, I had the opportunity to intern at Facebook. And previously, I did that thing that we all do, like code switch, right? So I would say, hi, my name's Camille Douglas, and nice to meet everyone. And I challenged myself to stop talking like that because that's not my authentic self. And just doing that small thing, I feel like I gained so much more confidence in myself as who I am and not who I hope people to see me as.
That's right.
And so I would say that like authenticity, and I would encourage all Black women to show up in spaces as your authentic self, because that is an act of rebellion and an act of advocacy in itself. So.
I would say that I really like that question. My superpower would have to be my vulnerability. I feel as if since I've been at Howard, I feel like day after day and year after year, I stay getting humbled. Like sometimes I ask God, I'm like, God, everything has to be harder for me. Like, can I please have a break? Like, of course, I see the lessons and all of these different situations, but can I be regular, please? And I just want to share a quick example. So I remember, for over the summer, for 12 weeks, I studied for the LSAT, and I fasted because one of my profiles was like, Rachel, if this is important to you, you need to show God that you're serious. So I gave up drinking and socializing, and I took a class, and I had a tutor in addition to working full time, being in school and being actually a president. And then fast forward, I get my score back. I'm like, God, do we have an issue? I spent so much time, I spent so much money. I wanted to be an attorney, since I was in elementary school after helping my mom with her citizenship exam and process. Is this for me? And then I remember, and I don't usually cry, but after I got my score back, I called one of my profiles and I started crying. I'm like, I don't understand how this happened. And she was like, Rachel, I want you to hold on to how you feel. And, because now taking an in-person prep class, and things are going well. She said, hold on to your emotions right now. And when you apply, and remember that it's going to be through God alone. So I feel just understanding where my strength comes from, where my power comes from, and just I don't want to say that I'm a perfectionist, but I definitely strive for excellence in all that I do. But it's important to communicate with people and let everyone know that your journey may be difficult, but at the end of the day, in order to be a great leader, you have to be inspirational. So
Very good.
Yeah,
Awesome. We have a tough time being vulnerable because we're powerful and we want to make everyone think we have it together all the time. So that's thing that great.
Before I say my superpowers is when Rachel says she rarely cries. I'm a crier, so I will cry for the simplest things, and it's just I'll be happy. Anything. Well, I would definitely say that my Black girl magic superpower is. I feel like I have a lot because we're just that amazing, right? We're all just that amazing. But one of them is definitely evolving and elevating through the dark times and the good times and the ups and downs and everything. But through everything, I'm going to continue to grow into the person that I am called to be by God and by God. So I would truly believe that my power is evolving and elevating through anything, like a sunflower. They can grow in the dark and they can shine year round. That is me.
Awesome. Very good.
I would say that my Black girl superpower, on this Sunday morning, it has to be spiritual discernment. It's so hard to become anxious and moved by those negative factors that aim to influence us, but just holding steadfast to prayer and petition is what has gotten me to this point thus far, and I think it's the only thing that's going to carry me throughout the next few years of my life. So that would be mine: spiritual discernment through prayer.
I definitely agree that, it's only God that has gotten me this far. You look back on things that we've been through, I think all of us as Black women have been through, and we look at where we are now and it's totally different. But also, I think I see my superpowers having this tunnel vision. Like, if I had to draw a picture of myself, it's me in this train. And it's just like, once I reel that train up and I'm ready to go, you better watch out because it's not stopping. It's not slowing down. And I'm just going to get to where I need to go. And it's like, I'm always trying to move, and I see things so far ahead. It's like, I'm on this project, but I'm already thinking about how I'm going to take that project and elevate it to something totally different. So definitely my tunnel vision and my focus is, I think, my superpower.
So ladies, we have gone way over time, but it is time well spent. There's one more question I have before I even get to that question. I want you to see the comments in the chat. So for you, Rachel, I'm going to connect you with a dear friend of mine, LaFonda Middleton, who's an attorney here in Jacksonville, Florida, and she's talking about her first experience with the LSAT. So y'all, before the end of this day, will be connected. And that's what this platform is about. It's a safe space. We have to learn to be vulnerable. Our Black girl magic is the fact that we can rock it, but we have sisters that we can share with and be authentically ourselves, as well as receive that feedback when we need it to be better and to press on. So I want to share a conversation that I was having with Sage when we were talking about this panel. And we got into the whole conversation of Black women versus women of color. And the Sister Covenant is a platform for women of color, different generation. And what I shared with her is, and I'm dating myself, if you can give me a minute, in 1972, the first Black woman who ran for president of these United States was, answer?
Shirley
Chisholm. And I have to say, in my civics class in Miami, Florida, I was Hubert Humphrey. I don't know why I was Hubert, but I was Hubert, and my girlfriend was Shirley Chisholm. But another part of that civic conversation that my teacher challenged us to go home and talk to our families about is, what do you prefer to be referred to? What do you identify with? At the time, the question was, do you identify with being African American, Black, Negro, or color? So when I went home and I visited with my parents, their preference was Negro. My sister, who's 6.5 years older, her preference was African American. And that was pushing the envelope back then. That was Jesse Jackson and the push movement, and that was radical. African American. My grandmother, who was visiting, who passed at 98, she wanted to be colored. So that wasn't even a part of the conversation, but her comfort level was color. And Negro was what my parents said. So you could see that was definitely generational. Leave us with your identification. Are you comfortable in all those spaces of African American, woman of color, Black, or do you feel you have to pick a box? Anybody?
Well, this question has been especially interesting for me given my background. I'm half Ethiopian and half Black American. Born in Kenya, but I was raised in Durham by a Black family. So I don't think anyone should be expected to confine themselves to one of those boxes or identities for someone else's identification. Instead, I think that they're fluid. And they depend on the person and their background. I vary in my identification as Ethiopian, Black American, African American, or Black. Regardless, we're all women of color, and we should be proud of it.
Yeah, I'll tap in. For me personally, I prefer to be referred to as a Black woman. And my reasoning behind that is just, while I do identify as a woman of color in that association, I think it's important that we do clarify the distinction between like Black women and other women of color. And in this country specifically, the experience of Black women is so bad. It's been a really rough time for Black women. And so I take a lot of pride in that. But also I think, Black people are not a monolith. We're very nuanced. I think everyone has a right to be referred to and called what they want to be called. And so for me, I prefer Black women, but also I respect anyone and everything that they want to be called. So it's really a personal choice.
So just a little bit about my background. My mom was born in England, but she's Cuban and Jamaican. So on my mother's side, everyone is, Cuban and Jamaican, and my dad is from North Carolina and he's Black American. So just based off of like my experiences, I prefer to be called a Black woman. I think that, whenever you use the term like Black is very, inclusive, and you're not shutting out, one side of like your heritage or your culture. So with that being said, I like, especially like whenever you look on history or when you're like, just doing reflection, like when I think about my legacy, of course, like I am like a woman of color, but if I'm gonna stay true to myself, like I want to be remembered as a Black woman.
I would say that also that I identify myself as a Black woman. I was born and raised in America. I have that every right to have American pride, just like our constituents. So I identify as being a Black woman and owning that pride and owning that excellence that I have.
Okay, I couldn't get myself off mute, but I would
right.
say that I identify. I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Go ahead.
We can hear you. I think it was lagging a little bit, but you can go ahead.
Okay, I definitely identify as a Black woman. Like Rachel said, I feel like being a Black woman is more inclusive. I look at Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. She identifies as a Black woman as well as the first Asian American in the White House. And it's just so much bigger than us, and I've always had that legacy ideal with me. So it's just like when let's say I grow up and I'm the next president of the United States, I want not only people who identify as African American, but anyone who identifies as Black to fall under my umbrella and feel like I'm a reflection of them. As well as, you know, there's so much controversy around African American. I identify with Black because as an American, Black women have so much more to work for, well, to gain, not work for it because we're owed that. But until I am treated like the American that people to be, I will identify with where I feel most comfortable, and that is a Black woman.
Yeah, and just to join in really fast, a black woman as well. That's what that's what I identify myself with, and it's just so interesting. And sometimes people try to be so politically correct, and they try to tiptoe, walk on eggshells, and they're like, an African American, yeah, I'll take that, but I am a Black woman. So, you know, let that connotation bring as much as African American to some people. And I'm so proud to be a Black woman because it just speaks, you know, and especially today. And from here on out, it speaks, it rings, and I'm just so honored.
Well, you guys said it best, and I think this is an amazing time. It isn't a overnight sensation. We didn't just wake up like this. We put the work in, and we're still putting in the work, and that's the key, that we continue to push the envelope, and we continue to allow ourselves grace to be exactly in the moment of where we are today, and don't minimize ourselves for anyone, not anyone's comfort. So I thank you, ladies. I feel good that our future is secure in your hands. So thank you so much for being with us today, and have a wonderful rest of your great Sunday morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
So, ladies and gentlemen, because I think we have some on our podcast, I want to invite in my special contributor, our wellness and spiritual contributor, Tanya Grace. Tanya, are you in the studio? Tanya, that was phenomenal. That was phenomenal. And I don't know if Dr. Anita is here with us, but that was absolutely phenomenal. We had a few technical glitches, but that's okay. We worked through them.
It was wonderful. It was, I mean, I was crying backstage because those women, those young ladies, all the way from Dr. Glover down to each and every one of the panelists, I was just so inspired. I mean, my heart was, I was crying backstage. So excuse me because I had to like fix myself up.
Well, Tanya, I know our time got cut short, but you did a phenomenal Wellness Wednesday for the Sister Covenant. Tell us, and in the last couple minutes that we have, and maybe Anita can join us here in a moment, at a time such as this, we are still going through everything we're going through. And now we're at the holidays. No one saw that. So what are your tips for us as we approach Christmas and the New Year?
Well, I just want to echo what Dr. Glover said about just taking time to refill our cups and, really truly valuing what strengthens you. Find out what fills your cup. For Dr. Glover, she mentioned prayer and meditation. I believe another one of the panelists also reiterated how important spirituality is. Find out what is important to you, because not only can the holidays be considered a lonely time for some people, they can also be considered a stressful time. And we've all endured a tremendous amount of stress throughout 2020. So it's so crucial that as we prepare to embark on the close of this year, that we are mindful how we want to enter in and usher in the new year. Just taking time out to be mindful, to be present, to reevaluate our goals and our purpose. Stress is a part of life, but as Dr. Anita, I'm sure, can piggyback on, stress and long-term stress negatively impacts our health. So we don't want to live in a constant state of stress. So taking time out to be mindful and prayer, those are some of the things that sustain me. And before we go into the new year, finding out what empowers us.
Very good. Dr. Anita, do you want to jump in here? And I know we will spend more time around this next Sister Covenant next Sunday, around the actual numbers and what you're seeing in your practice. But what do you say on this topic of stress and the holidays and eating too much at Thanksgiving? I don't know.
First of all, I like to say that gaining weight is stressful in and of itself after you've eaten all that sweet potato pie. So let's start there. But stress is real, and I absolutely agree with Tanya that it can contribute to many disease states. My overall recommendation to kind of end everything is just to make sure that you create a plan and adhere to it, whatever it is, being consistent and committed to whatever that is. So if it's exercising for 10 minutes, if it's losing a pound per week, if it's eating more vegetables, if it's not stopping by a fast food drive-through, if it's deciding not to have another Thanksgiving plate, maybe it's donating or giving to somebody the rest of the cake that's left over. But it's just important to stay committed and adhere to whatever your plan is, and it must be specific, and the SMART goals, and it must be measurable and attainable and achievable, and must be reasonable, and it must have a time frame. So let's say between now and December 31st, we are going to do better. We promise to do better, adhere to some plan. And I love what Tiara said, the evolution of self. So let's, from my standpoint, be more healthy, have a more healthy self. Let's work towards that. And so I guess that's a word that I like to leave with everyone.
And let's give ourselves grace. That's where I am right now. We have tomorrow. I mean, that doesn't mean that you just keep saying, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow. That's procrastination. But if you eat a sliced potato pie today, doesn't mean it cancels out the rest of the month. It just means today you did that, right? You have grace to do better.
Absolutely agree. I also say that it's okay to have some, just not a big piece. Have a smaller piece. Allow yourself to enjoy something that you enjoy for the moment, because the next moment really isn't promised. But I would definitely say, instead of that big slice, do a smaller slice. Share a slice with somebody at home and then giggle and laugh over the fact that you shared a slice.
So having a full piece of the pie probably shouldn't.
Sharing is caring, like Dr. Anita just said. Sharing is caring.
Exactly.
Very good. Well, ladies, I love you to life. And when I think about what I am most grateful for is family, friends, certainly the Sister Covenant and this bond, but the two of you have been quite a blessing. It's phenomenal that we've only been together for 30 days. Our audience may not know, we didn't know one another prior to the Sister Covenant launch, November 1st. Prior to the 1st of October, we did not know one another. And this has been a journey to get to know the both of you. You're beautiful inside and out. And I must say, I'm most thankful for the folks behind the scenes that you don't get a chance to see. Our college students, Justice Hauser, who is not a phenomenal woman, but he is an awesome guy. And he is the wind behind our backs and pushing us and making us all look good. So we thank Justice and our other collegiate team members. And I want to thank Sage, Simone Haynes, my niece who was co-host with me. Weren't those women phenomenal? Those collegiate
Amazing.
leaders.
So proud.
They make us proud, and we are in good hands with that kind of leadership
for our future, right?
For our future. Yeah. So we are well over, but I don't make any apologies for it because this was phenomenal. So ladies, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Love you all. And to our guests, we will be back next Sunday because it is first Sunday. So first, third, and whenever there is a fifth Sunday in the month, we will be here. And that Sunday will be dedicated to women under 30. You don't want to miss it because it's a show, as you can see, to be had by the youngins. So with that, we leave you today. And as always, be bold, be brilliant, brave, and beautiful. Be blessed.
See you later. Love you.
Bye. Love you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.